G'day everyone, Jason Nunn with this week's Fishing Report, proudly brought to you by Fisherman's Warehouse Marine, Sweet Street, Warners Bay, your Newcastle Honda Marine dealer. And of course, inside today, a little bit inclement. There's them scuddy showers still coming through, guys, and we've had a lot of rain since the report last Friday. It has just kept coming down. The top end of the lake out here, that Warners Bay area, all the way down to Valentine at the moment, water chocolate brown. We've had so much rain over the past 7 days. It's been crazy. We're going to see a little bit of relief this weekend. Probably they're saying the possibility, so it still means we could get them, but the possibility of showers Saturday into Sunday, then Wednesday, Thursday next week at this stage looks glamour with blue skies with a bit of luck and light west-northwest winds, which will give us a good chance to get out wide. Of course, school holidays, school breaks up this afternoon, so we're on to 2 weeks of school holidays as well. So we're going to start to see a few people get out there and have a bit of a look. Things to really look for over the next few days. I think as we get into late next week, I've had a bit of a look at the sea surface chart. That water that I was talking about last week, that offshore water and the possibility of yellowfin tuna out there has continually slid down the hill in and around about 3300 to almost around about 3305. So it's starting to get closer and closer and closer to the accessibility out of Swansea. And I'd say over the next week, we'll start to see that. And with those better conditions, next Wednesday, Thursday in particular, a great opportunity if you can get a midweeker to get out there. So hopefully we'll get some better news on that front next Friday. Of course, the swell's going to start to back down tomorrow. We're still going to have these southeast winds. Look, I just checked then, even at Nora Head, it's gusting to 25 knots this afternoon, south-southwest with those scuddy showers. It'll back off to around about 15 or so tomorrow, and then Sunday doesn't look too bad. But there's still plenty of opportunity if you're going to fish in the lake. The pick of it's definitely been the centre of the lake and or down the southern end, Pulborough Island, or even on the western side of Pulborough Island. A lot of very good tail are mixed in with those schools of salmon. I had an opportunity to speak to Mick Wardle this week, and basically he and his son Ryan had an opportunity to get on the lake last week, have a bit of a troll. And we always talk about this time of year, putting the time in and troll for these tailor and just look for them outside of these salmon schools. Some cracking fish. I think Ryan got a fish 68 centimetres. Now those fish in and around that 68 centimetres or better are getting very close to 3 kilo, if not 3 kilo, once they start to just eat and pulverise the bait. One thing that a lot of guys have actually started to make mention of, these better fish have been away from the bait schools. So not necessarily staying on those bait schools that are getting heavily worked by the smaller tailor and obviously the salmon and the like, but moving around and really looking for an area that has this better quality fish. And of course, they're just arching out like a flock of seagulls, as it were, just on the bottom. That consistency of lake depth, that 9 metres is really what you're looking for, and getting those lures. You know, even Halco Crazy Deeps will get you down that depth. Of course, tail dancers, getting you down to that 8 to 9 metres and really slowing them in to those schools of fish. But some very, very good tailor in that part of the lake. So I still think, you know, Rathmines, we've had a few reports from over there, definitely around the corner at Wangi, Pulba, and that western side over towards even Sunshine, where we're starting to see a lot of bait fish pushed down. Still a few nice mulloway in amongst those bait schools, but some really good flathead fishing happening. A lot of fish in those high 60s, of course, obviously, you know, mid 50s, of course, but a lot of release fish, 70 and above. So we're starting to see a lot more flathead, and this flathead winter has basically continued all the way through. A lot of brim, and of course, this is what we've got to look at the next week. New moon comes in tomorrow night. Tomorrow morning, you've got a high tide at around about 8:45. Not a big tide, it's only around about 1.37. The evening tide, however, is 1.96, so a big push of water on these nighttime winter tides at the present moment. The low tide Saturday afternoon, just after 2 p.m. So you could basically have a bit of a troll in the lake in the morning and really work that high tide. And if you wanted to go back and have a fish on the flats, in particular on that 196 tide, get up along those edges. There's some beautiful brim around at this present moment. Those oily based baits, whether it be mullet strips, mullet gut, pilchards, all that sort of stuff, bonito, that is the sort of bait that you can use up on those flats. And with the new moon, it'll be dead black. You want it to be dark as anything. So you're just going to be able to get that ability and fish as light as you can. Hard burley will be ideal, but try to have a bit of that. Now, I've had reports of a few salmon up on the beaches, definitely a bit of action up on the breakwater. This morning, there was about 3 boats in Salts Bay, one on the southern side, a couple in and around Sunken Rock where the steel post is there with the cardinal marker. There is a few salmon still poking around in the channel. A lot of those fish that were down the channel have moved into the lake, but there's still some very good reports even on the beach. So those southern protected corners, Blacksmiths up to basically the breakwater, Stockton, and of course even up to Port Stephens, but particularly I think that Belmont Blacksmith stretch, some very big salmon there. Some of these fish up to 70 centimetres in length, so some really good diversity there, still with that sprinkling of the odd tailor. A lot of Ludwig now in the system, guys, and as we start to get into July, as we are now, and start to head back into August, September, coming into almost spring in a couple of months' time, you're going to see those Ludwigs start to build up. Greenweed, however, is of a precedent. It is nearly impossible to find. A few of those local ponds that are down on the Central Coast are really the only places you're going to get it. And even on the rocks, with these big tides, we've had a lot of drummer in there feeding on the weed itself, but the swell has been hard to get onto. So you're just going to have to basically move around. I'm hoping over the weekend it starts to get a little bit better. My tip for this weekend is, guys, is get on the lake, or indeed get onto the shore and do a bit of fishing in and around Salts Bay and that there, and have a bit of a fish off the shore for your bream, trevally, and obviously still a few flathead over in that Salts Bay area. Now, guys, this next week, of course, is the first week of school holidays, which we made mention. We're going to actually have a week off over here at Warners Bay, so the shed will be shut until the 15th. We'll be back on Monday the 15th. If you need anything, or you need to book an outboard motor in for a service or anything like that, still give us a call on our main number, 4945 2152. I will still take calls and messages for spare parts and bookings over that week period. I hope to get out there next Wednesday and have a bit of a look, probably around the lake, but I'd really like to get out wide and have a bit of a look. We'll do the report again still next Friday, probably from Moon Island, somewhere up around that way. But be safe. We'll see you next Friday, and enjoy your school holidays.